Its name was synonymous with animals' fun in Australia, though many people might have known him better as the Crocodile Hunter. He was beloved and admired by his family and fans all over the globe alike. His unexpected death sent a shockwave, and many around the globe felt the sadness of his untimely passing. For most of us, wild animals are incredibly beautiful creatures, which are also dangerous, so ultimately best left alone to their own devices. There are some people out there who don't necessarily fear animals, but still carry massive amounts of respect for nature's most extraordinary beasts. There's nothing that could come between them and their huge amounts of love for animals. Sometimes, not even death. Steve Irwin was an extraordinary person. You might remember him as the guy on TV who fearlessly fed crocodiles, but he was much more than that. He was an expert on wildlife, cared deeply about the environment, fought hard to protect nature, and worked as a zookeeper too. His life revolved around animals from the very start. His dad, Bob, knew a lot about wildlife, especially reptiles and amphibians. Steve's mom, Lynn, helped injured animals get better. Together, they began a small place called Queensland Reptile and Fauna Park when Steve was young. Growing up, Steve was surrounded by crocodiles, making his childhood very different from most. At 6, he got a big snake as a pet. By 9, he was already handling crocodiles, even wrestling one under his dad's watchful eye. As he got older, Steve became more involved with the park. He also volunteered for a program managing crocodiles along Queensland's east coast and caught more than 100 crocs that might have caused problems. In 1991, he took charge of the park and later changed its name to Australia Zoo in 1998, making it famous. On September 4, 2006, Steve was 44 and doing what he loved. He'd been on TV for a decade with his popular show, The Crocodile Hunter, which earned him his nickname. He never seemed to want a break from his work. He was passionate about what he did on and off camera. He adored his wife, Terry, and cherished his kids, 8-year-old Mindy and 2-year-old Robert. Everything seemed perfect that day, and Steve's love for his family and work was unwavering. Steve and his team were at a place called Bat Reef, part of a huge coral area called the Great Barrier Reef, near a small town in Australia called Port Douglas. They were there to make a documentary called Ocean's Deadliest. Steve was feeling excited and ready, but not everyone in the team felt the same way. His best friend and the producer of his show, Crocodile Hunter, John Stanton, had a feeling that something wasn't right. About 3 weeks before they were supposed to start filming, John tried to stop the whole thing by asking the Discovery Channel, the people who were paying for the documentary, to cancel it. But the Discovery Channel had already spent a lot of money on it, so they said no. John had to accept that they were going ahead with the filming, but he was scared that something bad might happen. So he did some medical tests and made a will, just in case. A couple of days before they started filming, Steve talked to the team. He thanked them for being there and helping him, which seemed normal to everyone else. But John, who was Steve's close friend, felt like the way Steve talked was strange and kind of like it was the end of something. Still, they had to go ahead with filming. On a Monday morning, Steve and John woke up early. They were on Steve's big research boat called Crocodile 1. They wanted to spend a bit of time together before they started working. They had a cup of tea and talked while looking out at the ocean. Steve was happy and talking about how great his life was. He was always ready for an adventure, full of energy, fun, and charm. As the day went on, the crew realized that the water they planned to film in for Ocean's Deadliest was too murky. They couldn't showcase the creatures clearly, making the documentary less interesting. Instead of waiting around, they decided to wait a few hours or maybe even a day for the water to clear up. However, Steve Irwin, known for making things happen, saw this delay as an opportunity. Not one to sit idle, Steve decided to use the time to film footage for his daughter, Bindy's upcoming wildlife show on the Discovery Kids channel. The show, titled Bindi the Jungle Girl would feature his 8-year-old daughter as the presenter. The channel hoped that Bindi could follow in her father's footsteps and educate children worldwide about nature and its creatures. Stevie, seeing the brilliance in this idea, believed that his daughter, being a mini version of himself, deserved her own show. Steve instructed his cameraman, Justin Lyons, to grab his camera and get ready for a quick dive. Though initially planning to film scenes with a tiger shark, they couldn't find one. Instead, they opted to film a stingray. The crew, experienced in snorkeling, took an inflatable boat away from the main vessel to dive in. Little did they know what was about to unfold. In the shallow waters, the experienced divers encountered a short-tailed stingray, a creature about 6.5 feet long. They finished filming, intending to capture a final shot of it swimming away for Bindi's TV show. Unbeknownst to them, stingrays are not typically aggressive and tend to avoid humans. They only attack when provoked or sensing danger. In this case, the stingray unexpectedly became agitated. Steve's cameraman, Justin Lyons, witnessed the stunning creature underwater. Being accustomed to handling dangerous animals like crocodiles, he wasn't afraid. However, in a tragic turn of events, the stingray suddenly thrust its razor-sharp tail upward, striking Steve Irwin in the chest with its barb. Justin Lyons never lowered his camera. Steve had a strict rule: film everything no matter what. So when the stingray attacked, the camera kept rolling. Steve ended up in a pool of blood as the stingray darted away. Later, stories claimed Steve pulled the barb from his chest, but Justin, the cameraman, knew the truth. The jagged barb had pierced Steve's chest deeply, causing severe harm. Steve, standing in the water, yelled about his punctured lung, but it was worse than that. Justin saw a large, gaping wound over Steve Irwin's heart, bleeding profusely. Panic surged as they rushed Steve onto their boat, Justin directing others to help cover the wound, begging Steve to stay strong for his kids. Steve, surprisingly calm, whispered to Justin that he was dying before losing consciousness. Justin performed CPR while the crew filmed every effort to save Steve. Paramedics arrived swiftly, but confirmed Steve's passing within moments. Even if they had reached a hospital, the damage to Steve's heart was too grave. The footage of the tragedy remains unseen by the public, likely never to be released. It was a heart-wrenching ordeal, filled with desperation and a race against time. Steve Irwin, a beloved figure, tragically lost his life, leaving behind a legacy of wildlife conservation and passion for animals. In just a few moments, Steve Irwin, someone many people loved, left this world while doing what he loved most: being with animals. His wife Terry and their kids, Bindi and Rob, were in Tasmania when they got the sad news. Terry got a call from the zoo manager and had to gather all her strength to tell her kids what happened. When they got back to Australia Zoo, they saw reporters there, but also lots of flowers from people who were sad about Steve. Terry never married again because she believed Steve was her true love and no one else could be like him. Instead, she and their kids took over Australia Zoo and carried on Steve's work. Bindi and Robert work at the zoo and care a lot about protecting animals and nature. They try to make their dad proud every day. People all over the world will always remember Steve Irwin. He wasn't just a funny guy on TV who loved animals. He was also someone who cared deeply about wildlife and taught others why it's so important to protect nature in his own special way. And if you found this video helpful, do subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.